related background of why we are doing this. This is one of our initiatives to talk about contemporary topics wherein we try to invite guests across different domains and have them share their perspectives around different topics. In fact, last time we had an excellent panel discussion on body shaming. So this time we are doing one more on study related pressure. And the topic at hand today is conquering academic anxiety and strategies to triumph over study stress. So we have gathered here to shed light on the impact of study pressure, and I urge all of us to engage in an open and empathetic conversation as we discuss this sensitive topic, which is not spoken that much. And let's create a safe space where everyone can share their experiences as well as perspectives without judgment, as we do always. Like we have been participating in TGV inner circle meetings as well. So first, what I will do is I'm going to provide you all a brief intro of our distinguished panel of experts and individuals who have various thoughts to share on the subject of dealing with this subject, on the subject of dealing with study pressure. So first, we would like to go with Ragini Sahai's introduction. Dr. Ragini Sahai is an educator, academician, and also social development specialist with over 25 years of professional experience. And she has served in social sector with prestigious institutions and projects of UNDP, World Bank, and also Government of India. And she's an alumni of University of Delhi. She also taught in the leading private universities to UG, PG, and MPhil plus PhD students as well. So it is nice to have you, madam, and a hearty welcome to this panel discussion. So probably you can wave your hand.
Yeah,
Okay. So hearty welcome, Dr. Ragini Sahai.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
with that, we'll move to the next panelist, Anand Goud. And he has over 13 years of experience in product and program management and currently working in Amazon US. And right now it is 2:30 a.m. time for him. And he's so passionate in terms of contributing his knowledge and join this amazing conversation so that it will be value add to all the audience that have tuned in to this particular panel discussion. And he's part of the global payments program team for fraud detection. He's a non-IITian and a non-engineer, however an avid learner, and that learning keeps him stay relevant. And hearty welcome to you, Anand. You can also wave hi to our audience. Next, we'll go with the most passionate and energetic Rashmi Kashyap ji. So she's an educator with over 25 years of experience, and she's a soul embracing positivity is the transformative power. And from educator to career and parent counselor, she guides individuals to be confident, motivated, and their best self. She's a travel enthusiast and advocate for sustainable travel. She shares her experience to inspire others as a writer, speaker, and poet. And also, she champions soul strength, women empowerment, and a progressive mindset. And you can explore her wisdom on soulandspiritblog.com. And she has over 11,000 followers on Instagram. And she amplifies her message of positivity almost every day. So, welcome, Rashmi Kashyap ji. And you can also wave your hand. With that, let's move to the next panelist, Sudhakar Nagandla. He is the Senior Vice President and Global Head of IT Infrastructure and Cloud for Allcargo Group. He oversees the end-to-end lifecycle of IT infrastructure, cloud, and end-user setup for group companies operating in 183 countries, including ECU Worldwide, GATI, and Allcargo Logistics, which is called as ACL. And he has over 24 years of experience in IT infrastructure and cloud, and also holds the ITIL V3 certification. So great to have you as well, Sudhakar, join this second panel discussion. So please say hi to the audience or
Hi
whoever has listened.
everyone.
And with that, let's move to the last panelist, Dr. Manju Kashyap. She's an educator with an experience of 22 years in teaching and also research. And along with teaching, she also loves to mentor UG and PG students from different courses in various colleges. And she has been concerned about giving quality mentorship to students across India. And at present, she's an associate professor and she's associated with within Galgotia's group in Greater Noida. And Dr. Manju, hearty welcome to this panel discussion. It is awesome to have you. Please wave your hand
Thank,
as well.
thank you, Naveen. Thank you very
All right.
much.
So this is such a powerful group of experts from diverse backgrounds, and one common thing that we observe here is every passionate about sharing their views on a topic, which is about conquering academic anxiety, strategies to triumph over study stress. So it is nothing but study pressure. Often we come across certain news, okay, especially related to certain areas wherein there are IIT institutes or NEET institutes, and students are subject to some pressure, and unfortunately they are committing suicides, and they are getting too much stressed as well. So first of all, let us try to understand the definition of study pressure, right? So it is nothing but the stress and strain which is experienced by individuals, especially students, due to academic expectations, workloads, and also the need to perform very well in exams. Unfortunately, in India, most of the parents are behind their children, telling them, hey, you have to stand first in the class. And there is a lot of herd mentality, and there is a lot of comparison that happens day in and day out. So let us talk about all those aspects in the next few minutes. And before that, let us have the panelists share their insights and also stories, so that we can understand this particular issue in a better way and also discover numerous ways to combat it. So let us take the insights we gained today to deal with the study pressure and create a conducive environment for students so that they can excel in their fields without pressure. So first, what we will do is I'm going to go around the table. We have five panelists today, and first we'll start with Anand Goud. Anand, let us talk about your own experience of study pressure. Did you ever experience study pressure related to study pressure at all in your overall academic career?
Yeah. Thank you, Navin and TGV, for first of all hosting this discussion. It's a very important topic, and the only reason I wanted to, share my thoughts on it is because it's very relevant, and it's very close to my heart. And I just hope that this discussion helps lot many students out there. So going back to your question, first of all, let me try to answer it in a very different way. So I grew up in a middle class family, like almost like everyone else, being the only child. So all the expectations that parents have is all me, right? And apart from that, the environment in which I grew, being a good student was the only ticket for me to have or lead to a better life. There was nothing other than that that I could do, or what my parents could support, that where I can go and have another life, like for example doing business or anything else. So I don't know if that's pressure or not, but I didn't took much. And definitely, when I first saw that invitation to sent to me, I was like, I am being a bad student almost my entire life. And it's a little ironic to share how to study now, or how to deal with the anxiety. But I think one thing which I learned in life later is that when I was growing up, I was told that study is only like till you are in the school or in the college, and once you are over, once you go beyond that, there is no study. Now that's one of the biggest lie that I was told by my parents. I think it was just to lure me so that I can do more study that time. But when I started my corporate career, I got to know that study is something, it's part of your life. Like no matter where you go, and I'm sure the panelists will agree that even in their current career, or wherever at that position they are, maybe the way you study has changed, but you have to keep yourself updated. You have to do so many things to make sure that you are giving your best output in the work. So that's one, the moment that I realized that okay, this is what it is, this is, then my approach towards study really changed. And then there was literally no pressure, because I wanted to do something and I need the skill sets. There is a gap, so let's go and study that and then deliver. I think that really relieved that pressure. And plus, the exams thing was not there, because it's more real, right? If you do and you get the see the result in real time, that kind of became a game changer for me, and took away the pressure completely. So yeah, and so all I can say, to all the students out there or any learners out there is that there is nothing bad in having that pressure in your life. Make sure it's healthy. It doesn't take over your mind where it starts impacting you negatively, and if it becomes over sometime, just take a deep breath, just stay in that moment and then move forward. I think that's what I do on daily basis, and that really helps me. Thank you. Over to you, Naveen.
All right, thank you, Anand. And you actually made me nostalgic at every stage of the academic milestone. Right during 10th standard, we were told, okay, if you don't study, there is no life. And during 12th, the same story repeated. During engineering, it all repeated. But if you look at the life in reality, all the backbenchers are earning more than the first benchers or the middle benchers. I hope you guys would concur with that as well. And with that, let's pose the same question to Dr. Ragini ji. So, Dr. Ragni, have you also witnessed this kind of study pressure when you were a student?
Thank you, Naveen, for having me here. Uh, I belong to a family where everybody was very well educated. In my own family, plus my family post my marriage, both the families are highly and highly educated. As a student, I never found that I was in stress or something. So, being having my studies and having my education was a natural part of my upbringing. So, sorry, we are a caste family, and in caste family, something like education is highly important. So, it was an inbuilt for all of us that we have to take our education very seriously, and it was never a pressure for me. Even after my marriage, I studied for 7 years. I obtained my PhD. But yes, I would say examinations sometimes they do create a stress for students, for every student, for all of us. And it is also, some level of stress is good. It is also known as eustress in psychology. That is something which helps you in, it's actually motivating to handle your challenges. So studies was actually a very challenging for me. Studies were actually something which made me so disciplined in life. Even today, I dedicate some of my time in studies. Nobody is asking me what I'm studying, what I'm not studying, but I myself do that. So I think students should consider this as, when you are studying, taking this as a part of their disciplined life. So my studies has actually made me very disciplined. I give all those respect to my elders, my family members, who had always encouraged me to do studies, but they were never after that what are my results and all. I was a good student, so my results were always encouraging, and that's it. So studies, I think, makes a student very
Yeah.
disciplined.
So
Thank you.
if I were to summarize, it's all about studying, no matter whether you stand first in class or second in class. Just that you have to study. I think, yeah, having that bare minimum education and having that kind of push is essential for us to succeed. And thank you for sharing your insights, Dr. Ragni. And with that, now Sudhakar, over to you. So, what's your take on this? Have you also gone through similar thing?
Yeah, I think my story is a little different. Up to my engineering, I was always the topper. So the pressure was inbuilt and it was more internal than external, right? Because you
Yeah.
always have that. I don't know whether I should call this because of social conformity norm or maybe because of internal pressure. So if you are not the topper and if you are even if you are in the second rank,
Mhm.
you lost something, right? That is the
Yeah.
one thing. But I think more than studies, I would say the learning aspect of it, the holistic learning of it and the overall understanding of what we are doing and why we are doing. I think that perspective actually gives a better appreciation of the hard work that Anand and Dr. Ragini were talking about.
Mhm. Sure.
Excuse-
And yeah,
so
those are, yeah. Please continue.
sorry. So what I was saying is that once we have that broader perspective,
Hmm.
now the ongoing learning opportunities that we do, interactions, direct and direct. excuse me excuse me I think that ongoing learning opportunities that we have by interacting with peers, with next generation and the previous generation, That definitely helps you to be where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And coming back to the pressure, I think
Yeah.
that internal pressure was there for long, not so much from the external standpoint, but I
Mm-hmm.
think in the last 10-15 years that I have seen that this rat race of you know becoming an engineer or a doctor, the typical templatized version of us Indians actually have started more percolating down the layers, and now I think we are putting more pressure on the current generation than what we used to have about 20-25 years back. That is what I
Mm-hmm.
feel. But okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing your insights. I think you had intrinsic and implicit pressure rather than the external factors. I think, yeah, we come across that, right. Once we start performing at a certain level, like we will not be able to come down, and wherein people can't see us in the second position or third position. So that is something intrinsic, and it happens in many of us. And with that, let's move to Dr. Manju. So, what's your take? Have you also been through this study pressure or the academic pressure? I think you are to unmute.
I'm not audible.
Yeah, please go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes. My take is like if I give you my experience, childhood experience, I was not good in studies. My
Mhm.
parents were never expected anything more from me. But because my brother were they were doing engineering, and uh, I would say that a brother sibling pressure was there on me. So gradually, with the time, I control myself and concentrated on my studies. But it was not possible for me to study for long. So my parents generally, they used to guide me to take the break, and I used to take the break. In between that break, I used to pursue my hobbies. So I would say that because of this type of way of studying, inculcated me in me so many activities. Means
Mhm.
like I still have so many hobbies to pursue. The same way, I encourage my students also, my children also, that the pressure you take from the study, it is immaterial if you plan it in the right way.
Mhm.
So yes, pressure is always there. Those who study, they always get a pressure because we never get pressure after playing games. We never get pressure after watching TV. So why we taking studies so as a taboo, and running from that, um, and taking so much stress.
Yeah.
So yes, I never took that stress.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it. So personally, you did not take that. I think, yeah,
No,
we realize it unfortunately after everything has gone through, like after going through that situation. Okay, so let's hold on why there is academic pressure, and before that, let us talk to Dr. The Rashmi Kashyap ji. So, Rashmi, what's your take? Have you been through the academic pressure by yourself?
I would say yes, like any other child, growing up child. There is a very thin line between expectations and feeling pressurized. If I may say that, as a Indian girl or a boy, we always want that we should come up to the expectations of our parents, our teachers, our elders. So now it is up to the family, up to the child, that how much he is going in that direction. Is he pushing himself too far? Because if you try too hard to come up to those expectations, which unfortunately you are not able to, so that's
Mm-hmm.
known as pressure only. You are under pressure directly or indirectly. So this
Mm-hmm.
pressure is for short term of period. It is very good. Like Dr. Ragini said, that it is a motivation for a shorter period of time. It acts like a motivation. Yes, I have to do good. I have to come up to the expectations because everybody around me is so educated and they are so well read. So I have to at least raise the bar of the family for my parents and everybody. But if it is chronic, if it is long term, then of course it will harm your mental well-being. It will harm your personality because you will be very timid, very shy, and if you are not able to achieve that bar which you have set for yourself, you will feel that there is a sense of failure in you, and that, slowly and steadily will start showing up in your personality, in your behavior. So it is very important to understand the difference and enjoy the process of learning, rather than rote examination, grading, and all those things, what is our education system consists of. We all know that, don't we, as Indian parents now. And initially we were students, children, so we all go through this grind of proving more to us, more than that to the society, that yes, we also belong to this well-read society. So that's my, according to me, is a pressure, and it is a
Mhm.
very sensitive thing. For each and every one it is different, for each and every family it is different, that how
Mhm.
do they deal with it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it also depends on the familial background and also in the background and setup where we grow up as well. Because in
Yeah.
certain things, like what I have seen in my personal journey is if the parents are well educated, like if you have the first gen, third, second gen, and third gen people in your family already educated, then the fourth gen and fifth gen will not have that much of pressure. Whereas
Yes.
if it is somebody who is the first generation, for example, I am a first generation postgraduate from my family, along with my three other siblings as well. We did not have pressure, but we had the motivation, saying that okay, our parents used to encourage us, like saying that hey, we are here to provide you that quality education. Just go ahead and study, right? So they never imposed any of that kind of pressure on us, and that's why that could be one of the reasons which contributed to our growth in life, actually, right? So on that note, I would like to shift to the second question, and this time we will start with Dr. Ragini Sahai. So Dr. Ragini, what do you think are the reasons, or what do you think about the causes for this study pressure, right? So share your
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. So, see, the study pressures are actually normal, natural. It would come. Any student who is in any type of study, whether engineering, medical, any subject, some amount of pressure would come. When we talk about the causes, I would say this is more of very multidimensional in nature, in the sense there are many reasons. First, you can say, number one, I would say that at individual level, yeah, we can see these at different levels. Now, at individual level, as a student, the student always has the performance anxiety. So performance anxiety, with her, so the class topper always wants to be the topper. The class topper never wants to be number two in the class. Then somebody in the second rank, third rank wants to be the first. Somebody in the lower level would think of, at least I would at least pass. So everybody has that at individual level. The performance anxiety is the number one reason that causes stress to the students. Number two, you can say that academic institutions, whether schools or colleges or PGs, universities or whatsoever, wherever we are studying, you see that institutions, they demark very clearly on who performs well, who performs bad in the class. The teachers are very clearly marking that who is the best, who got these numbers. So we all have been doing all these things, and in some or the other way, we unknowingly putting a lot of importance to the student who are achieving the best result, without considering about those students who have never been able to achieve. Instead, we are focusing more on the students who have achieved well, and we are always showing or highlighting at the university level, college level, posters, everything is there to motivate and to show that our students have done. So at institutional level, there is a stark difference between what the average student is doing, what the below average student. So there comes the discrimination, pressure in that environment. Number three is parental, family, and not only family, it is, it's extended family as well. There is a huge sense of parental identity through their children. What their children are achieving, that is their identity. So whether their child has reached to IIT or reached to Maulana Azad College or wherever, some branded institute, it's all about that. Parents want to show that their identity is this, and post education, what they are getting after that, how much package is there, so that becomes a part of the parental identity. So in a family, if one child is little lesser, So there also comes a huge sense of pressure if one is doing very well, and even if if they are average, the parents create these kinds of environment so that the knowingly or unknowingly there is a stress is created. Then of course societal level pressure. In every society we have expectations of people at somebody at this being given that kind of respect. Somebody is a doctor, somebody is an engineer, so there is a different kind of respect in the society for that level of people. So we can clearly say that at individual level, at institutional level, at parental level, at societal level, there are you know mix of factors which act the basis for creating study pressures for students. That's my understanding on this. Thank you.
So, Dr. Ragini, you have covered in a lot of aspects related to this. And let us also hear thoughts from other panelists. So, we'll go with Sudhakar first. So, Sudhakar, what's your take? What is causing the study pressure among the student community?
Yeah, I think Dr. Ragini covered pretty much the big ticket items. So let me also go with the same template of external and internal. From the external standpoint, I think social conformity norm, that parental identity that Dr. Ragini touched about, is the big ticket item in my view. The second thing is this demand and supply, right? So if you have one opportunity, there are at least 100 people behind you, so you are actually always in that rat race, whether you like it or not. In that virtual rat race, you always try to put your name above all others, come what may. That come what may is the big ticket item, right? The bigger issue. And I would say the ecosystem. So if you are actually in Western world, there you have the professional support that you have, like you do have people where you can talk to, whom you can talk to openly. You do have the psychiatrists, the people who actually you can go in closed door and have talk about the challenges that you are going through physically, mentally, and all of that. I think in eastern side, not only in India but in the Asia, most of Asia, if you see that ecosystem of having a conversation with professional, taking that help, professional help, without informing your parents or your family, is another thing that I think is the other third component from the external standpoint. And internally, I think we talked about it earlier, about that anxiety that the student goes through. There is no channel for that student to vent that out other than his or her peer group. And if you are going through that pressure, in your friend circle, in your peer group, you anyway expect the same level of maturity, so there is no one to share that load that you go through. I think that is the other component of that study pressure. So that is
Mhm.
what I see as internal and external side of
Mhm.
things, Naveen.
Yeah, I think that's a great classification, and it helps us understand more about the circumstances which we may have been overlooking all these days. So great thoughts over there, Sudhakar. And with that, let's move to Dr. Manju. So please share your perspective on this one.
Okay, audible.
Yep.
Um See, I give you the example of my children also. There are other students also who share their experiences when they come to the higher sections, 11, 12, and suddenly they face a change in syllabus. The material, the course material becomes so complex for them, and at that time, when they decide to take a particular stream, like in school level, they generally prefer to take, everybody prefer to take science, and without knowing the level of the syllabus. So before, I would say that this is one of the cause that you all are following a particular herd, or following a herd, and taking a particular subject which is already so complex. Second thing is, if I am, or if any student going for a competitive exam, or appearing for such type of exam, in that case you need to dedicate 17 to more than 10 hours, more than 10 hours, then only it is possible for you to cover the syllabus, and if in that point of time, if you are not taking, managing time, then it won't be possible. It will create a stress in you. So it means, for a student, this is my suggestion for them, that instead of, in peer pressure, you opt a subject in a higher section. It is better to see your interest, to go for your interest, and that's how you can save yourself from stress also.
Mhm.
This is all from my part.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think you have brought in a different dimension here. It depends on the stream that we choose. Certain
Yeah,
streams
yeah.
may not require so much of amount of time or effort to put in, whereas certain streams demand more. This is,
I do think.
yeah,
I do think.
yeah. That's good. And Rashmi, so what's your take on this?
Yeah, I'll start where Dr. Manju concluded, because she has brought a very valid point here. As a teacher, as an educator, I also felt the same. The main pressure is being put up by the organizations, the schools, the colleges itself. My God, I'm so sorry to say I belong to the same fraternity, but the kind of phrases, the kind of terms when teachers use when children come to higher studies for class 10th or class 12th, we only criticize what they have been done before. Like, for example, it is a very, very common example. The first class of class, 11 or 9, what do we
Mhm.
say? We tell them, whatever you have been done was nothing in front of class 10th. Now you are in class 10th. It's a board exam. Class 12th, it is no joke. You have to do this, you have to put in more efforts, you have to stop playing, you have to stop going around with friends, be serious in life. So the first pressure we only start creating in the class itself, the overall ambience, the overall environment, what we give to the children is itself so haunting that they
Mhm.
think that they are in a very glorified cage now. For 8 to 9 hours, they have to study. And then we don't let them select their streams. As she said, they are confused. What they want? If somebody wants humanities, but at the back of the mind, they think that the children, those who are opting for science or commerce, are the better ones, the more intellectual ones, and that gives you more salary packages, and more opportunities. So even if he is good in humanities, he wants to go with music, he wants to pursue dance, but he will not say to the parents, because he is so scared of the next conversation coming up in the homes. I would say now the things have changed a lot. The society is very open to all kinds of streams, but still there is a big taboo. All the parents want their children to go for engineering, doctors, fighter pilots, and all those things. So first pressure itself is the society, the class, the parents. You have to exceed. Look at your cousin, sisters, and brothers. He has reached there. He has gone there. So all these small, small examples we keep on giving them, and this creates a pressure. So these are the causes. We talk
Mhm.
about all big causes, but I think we should look, how do we converse with students? How do we converse with the children? How do teachers, introduce them the courses in the class? So all
Yeah,
these
yeah,
things also needs to be taken in for consideration.
yeah. So, if I were to summarize what you and Dr. Manju has mentioned when it comes to choosing a particular specialization or a particular stream, whatever you may call it, so don't just confine to top 2 or 3 streams, okay, which are actually in demand. Instead, you can explore the unexplored as well. But as parents, and as educators, we are not keen on encouraging that, right? So we will park this particular thing in terms of solutions, of providing solutions related to how students can avoid the study pressure. So before that, let's hear thoughts from our friend Anand. Anand, what's your take? What are causing the study pressure?
Yeah. So being last on the panelist sometimes takes away the pressure, because all the good points are covered by the other panels. But it also kinds of add another pressure, because like I wanted to speak about identity, Dr. Ragini covered. I wanted to speak about the rat race, but Sudhakar covered. So, but I'm just kidding. But yeah, thank you. I'm really liking the discussion here, and some of the good points are being brought up by our panelists. Let me try to add some value to it, from a very different perspective, right? So to start with, like for example, I have a 7 years old daughter, right? And before moving here to US, in India, I was staying in Bangalore, and she was going to a school. She was in grade 1, and I, she used to study a lot there. Like, there was a lot of homeworks, a lot of things that the schools used to give to the kids, and I sometimes used to feel that definitely it's getting little bit too much for her. But yeah, of course, I felt as an Indian parent, just what my Indian parent taught me is like, yes, I think this is needed to, be successful. And now when I come here on the west side and I see the opposite, completely extreme side, like where there is no pressure, like to the elementary kids, there is no exams for elementary kids. uh, so I feel I have seen the both sides, and maybe we can find a better way, which is in the middle somewhere, not going too much on the negative or too much where there is literally we are taking away that exam thing completely, and then we are not even giving that chance to our kids to at least show those who want to show, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing. And another thing I felt is like it's one of the biggest failure of our education system overall, and I will give you 2 3 points for that. Why? One is, as we are grown up now, everyone owns their own mobile. Like even kids nowadays have their own mobile. But if you see everyone's mobile in the same family, everyone has created their own digital identity in that mobile. Everyone has a separate app, a separate type of way of that mobile showcases. Then why? And if you go to OTT platforms nowadays, there is something called as personalization. Like, what you like is shown to you, versus what I'm seeing on my OTT platforms. So coming, like, tying back it to education is like, we are really missing on personalization here. Like, for example, what Naveen is good at, I am not really good at. Like, so, but when in the education system we both are being judged at the same level. Or in the corporate sector, we have something called as KPI, key performing indicators, right? Now I have seen so many different business problems that we had to create new KPIs for each business problem to see whether it's working or not. But do we have that same thing in our education system? Right? No, because all the six panelists, if we go back to a school, will be judged again on the same thing, no matter we are bringing something unique from our end. I think that is something we need to address as a society, in a very larger way. I think that will be definitely taking away a lot of pressure, because right now what happens, like as other panelists said. So I think that's what I would like to add to this. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you for the valuable insights. And yeah, sometimes it eases the pressure when you are the last speaker, but at times again it also hypes up your blood pressure because you have nothing to speak and you are expected to speak as well. So I've been into this kind of situations, especially when attending some conferences, and suddenly when I was the second person to speak, they asked me to go towards the end. They're saying that okay, they give a message and yeah, that's the energetic ones are put towards the end. That is as well as that we come through. Okay, great. So jokes apart, let's move forward and talk about the consequences and also the problems related to study pressure. So one thing that frequently comes in the newspapers is about the students committing to suicides, not being able to tolerate to that such a high academic pressure. So other than that, like what all things come to your mind? So we will start again, go around the table. First, this time we'll start with Sudhakar. First, so Sudhakar, so please share with us what are the consequences and problems related to study pressure.
On the lighter note, the problem solution for that is the average of India and US, which is Europe. So come to Europe, Anand, that way we will average it out, and it is pretty cool, nice breeze here. So coming to Europe will be solving all the problems. No, this is actually a very sensitive topic, Naveen, and especially the consequences and problems. One, on the consequences, what typically we have seen is, just because we are measuring everyone's success on the same scale. Like Anand
Mhm.
mentioned, in our mind, whether you are a snake or whether you are a rat or you are a hen, you are all measured against how quickly you can climb to the tree, right? There was a
Yeah.
WhatsApp forward or something that actually came, wherein you are all being measured against the same scale, irrespective of what your core competency is. Of course, you can always argue that at young age, how will you define or how will you identify the core competency unless you expand yourself. So the consequences part are unfortunately on the negative side, right? Because
Yeah.
depression is one big ticket item, anxiety, and the corresponding disorders, right, are the other things that we talk about when you are talking about the consequences and the problems. The other thing is, I think in the previous topic I was mentioning that, we need to have that ecosystem where people or students are encouraged to openly talk about the challenges that they are going through. I think that is one key point where we can focus, especially after being exposed to the Western style of teaching and learning and study environment. That is one place where I think we should give that flexibility to the students, that in case the students wants to have a ventilation, at least the student should be the pressures that the student is going through on depression and anxiety part, we should actually provide that flexibility in eastern side of the world as well.
Mhm. Great, and I loved your analogy. I think that's from the WhatsApp forward, right? And everybody has their own abilities and strength, and success need not always be in terms of money and fame. In my opinion, we have to think about the impact that we are creating on somebody and the value add that is being created by us, but that is often overlooked. Probably we have to instill that kind of moral values right from childhood and change the definition of the success. So that would be one of the solutions that we can discuss when we come there. And with that, let's go to Dr. Manju and hear her perspective on the consequences and problems related to study pressure.
I feel that my perspective is different from others. This time also, I would say, if I see the consequence of study pressure
Mm-hmm.
for the student, you know, for a student who is spending so much time on study, and because he is that stage where they could not understand that whether they are suffering from that stress or they are getting that stress gradually. It is, I would say that their behavior changes, their atmosphere changes at home, the behavior towards parents, the behavior towards friends, the behavior towards school. The changes show so much. We can say that the performance also visible in their performance in academics also. Their results, due to their academic result with decline, gives them imbibe some negativity in their personality also. And of course, because study is completely a mind game, so mind the health issues get started after the consequences of the study pressure. I feel that yes, it's a mind game, so we need to think according to mind also, and work on pressure. That's
Mm-hmm.
all. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So it's all the mind game. Yeah, that's a different
It's all the
perspective
mind game.
altogether. And over to you, Rashmi.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
your take on this?
Yeah, I think the consequences are, sometimes very, very disastrous, very harmful, and it impacts lifelong. We have so many children with mental health issues, depression, anxiety. Then they have reduced learning quality. They just lose interest in everything. It's not only academics. They hate exams. They hate going to school. They hate teachers. They start hating their parents, and they start hating the siblings also, those who are doing better than them, because they think that they are not worthy enough. They don't give themselves that importance, and they think that they nobody wants them. So this feeling of unwanted, this itself is so killing that sometimes they even think of finishing their life, like suicidal attempts and all. You have seen what is happening, and then they start comparing with those children, those who are doing well in exams. They are bringing good grades, they are bringing trophies, and their parents are feeling proud. So they think that they are not bringing any proud to the family. Their parents are not able to send the status like my child has, won this trophy and he has scored 95%. So now my mother won't be able to put any social media status. Nobody will be there to wish her. And so all these things, I'm telling you, it's not a joke. If nowadays the social media life is so big that parents wants, they don't want children, they want trophies. For them it is not child, it's a project. So because they have to prove to the society, to their friends, that they are very good parents and their children are doing well. And there is so much of pressure on child that he has to not only bring good marks, he has to prove himself in extra co-curricular activities. He has to be a good singer, he has to be a good sports person, he has to be a good dancer, good debater, and what not. And when he is on vacation, he can cook also. So many hobbies his children have. So all these things, it creates a very, very negative impact if the child is not able to perform in any one of the field. So it brings strained relationships also. And then
Mhm.
yeah, so many things.
Yeah. I think social media perspective is something which we have to spend a minute, because
Yes, now
people
it
say
is.
that the lives are glorified on Instagrams, but they
Yes,
don't know what
parents
is
have
happening
their
behind the scene.
dedicated pages for their children. A girl, 5 years old girl, she's having a dedicated page where mom keeps on putting that my child has brought this, prize, that thing. She has done this. She has performed live. So what's going on? I mean, the children are not children now. They are the life projects for parents.
Unfortunately, it is the ground reality. So we have to change the perspective and change the narrative here. So we'll come there when we discuss about the solutions. And with that, let's hand over the baton to Anand. This time you're promoted.
Oh, okay. So a little under pressure now that I have to say something new. Okay, all right. Yeah. No, I think Rashmi Kashyap brought a very important point. I think, yeah, I completely agree with her there. So I think the consequences of study pressure are very real. Uh, are like are there, which sometimes we don't acknowledge, but they are there. Like I asked Chat GPT what is the suicide rate in currently in the Indian students. It's almost like 34 students in a day. Now behind that 34 number, there are actual 34 lives who were pushed to a certain point where which it became very difficult for them to come back, and they took some extreme steps, right? uh, and it's completely all these 34 lives could have been avoided. I mean,
Mhm.
the suicide could have been avoided, knowing what they were going through, or they had a way to flush it out, the complete pressure from their mind. So definitely it's there. And I think some of our panelists are working in the education sector, and I mean, they are the like people who are actually working on removing that pressure in some ways. But yeah, all I can say is in this point is, like, for example, again tying back to my own experience in the corporate. So generally when we say how to tell a manager is good or bad, right? So there is a pressure from our senior leaders, but that manager actually removes that pressure, comes to us and tell, okay, this is the work we need to do, this is the goal we need to achieve, without giving that pressure what he or she is going through because of the upper leadership. Now, tying back to same, like, a good teacher is equally important in society, because that teacher will break down that exam into pieces which the students can understand, and that pressure doesn't get built up like throughout the year, in the academic year, that okay, if you achieve this number, this is success, and if you don't, gone. Like, so I think that's a teacher, And as a parent, of course, that is again very important thing. Not all pressure should be given to teacher for that. And as a parent also, like, if you make them understand that there are different ways to study. For example, like for me, I will be very like honest. So if you ask me to take a book now and read and then give like after 1 hour, if you ask a questions, I may not be able to do it. But if you say, Navin, that okay, Anand, we have to discuss about this topic in 1 hour, just bring some talking points about it, maybe I will be better able to go through that, because the mindset has changed, the way you ask me has changed, and my approach has changed. I think that something will have to blend in with the students. I think that will be very important, and maybe we can like save those 34 lives every day overall. Yeah, so thanks, over to you.
Mhm. All right. So again, those are some whopping numbers. Unfortunately, they're not so encouraging, right? So let us discuss about the strategies to deal and avoid this study pressure in a while. And with that, let's go to Ragini. Ragini, ma'am, over to you. So, what's your take on the
Yeah.
consequences?
And actually, a lot of points have already been covered by the panelists. Anyway, I'll just summarize all of those. I would say that
Yeah.
when we talk about consequences and all, it's actually very intense. And we can just put it in two categories, something which is, short term consequences or immediate consequences. And there are some long term consequences, which, these short term consequences may lead to long term consequences. So what could be the short term consequences? Mainly, revolves around things like a lot of anxiety is there, a lot of stress is created, there is a lot of insomnia and social isolation, suicidal thoughts. People, students will not interact with their peers, the students feels completely demotivated, and there is also there are a lot of physiological health issues like eating problems and not eating on time, and all health related issues also start cropping up with these kinds of pressures. So immediate, a lot of time you will see that around the exams many students get sick because of unnecessary undue pressures. And if you really go deeply into that, why student is taking so much of pressure, you will ultimately come to know about two three answers. Yes, the student wants to just crack this exam or want to achieve these many marks or wants to be number one in the class, like that, which I think gradually all elders can try to control it. There are strategies to control it. Then when we talk of these long term consequences because of this short term, all the time the student is who is under these kinds of consequences gradually develop completely demotivation towards the studies. There are cases of dropouts. When you ask the reasons for the dropouts at the school level and sometimes the college level as well, the students would come out with these they could not handle the study pressures, they could not get those much marks. So overall academic achievement is reduced. Your the stress and anxiety this short term can lead to so much of demotivation, lot of risk of dropouts. Then there is also student learning capacity is also getting diminished easily, which actually in the later stage of life is very much required. So if you're not able to learn many of the things, not only of the studies, other things as well, so how would you perform in the jobs and how would you work in those environments? So these all are highly connected, so we can easily categorize. There are some short term consequences, there are some long term consequences for because of these academic pressures. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. Good one. I think diminishing learning capacity is something to worry because it might be induced due to increased pressure or the increased stress. And having had great conversation on the consequences of this academic pressure, now let's talk about the solutioning part. Like, how can we prevent the study pressure? Like Anand mentioned, having good teachers is one of the strategies, and I mentioned about exploring alternate careers and something which may not require intense coaching. That could be one thing. And one other thing that comes to my mind is about national education policy. I heard a lot of great things about it. So maybe Dr. Ragini or Dr. Manju, you and and Rashmi Kashyap. So you guys come from academic background. If you have any insights related to NEP, whether it is going to have a positive impact, you can share when your turn comes. But first, we'll start with Rashmi. And this time, I would request each one of you to limit your thoughts to maximum two inputs, so that everybody gets an opportunity to speak. So we'll start with Rashmi first.
So, as a soul therapist and parenting and relationship coach, I would say it is very important to instill the feeling in our children that success is not the key to happiness. Happiness
Yeah.
is the key to success. The day they start learning this, they will automatically be a very, very holistic, happiness achieved people. They will think that it is not only bringing good marks and performing good in exams. It's just not only it's just a part of the overall personality development. So they have to work on other aspects as well. There are relationships, there are values, there are characteristics, there are so many things, there are passions, hobbies. So they have to work on every aspect of life. First thing is that parents should not only talk about percentage, grading, admissions, colleges, careers, all these things. And next is, I think we should be open to communication. As a family, we should communicate with our children that what do they want, what is the purpose of their life, what do they like, and what they don't want in their life. We should not, uh, see our dreams to be fulfilled through them. Many a times it happens. I will just give you an example. There are parents who want to become something in life and they could not. Suppose a father wanted to become a doctor or a banker and he could not become. So he will constantly tell his son or a daughter to become one, because he wants to live that dream through his own children. So that
Mhm.
is another thing. And then foster a sense of purpose, that this life is not only about earning, educating yourself, and having a car or a luxury villa or something like that. This life is also about helping others to grow. It is something you have to give back to the community. You have to do something for the people, those who need you. It is not only about money, fame, and name. So these values, if we instill our children, so it will automatically reduce the pressure on children, that they don't have to bring on 98% or 99% marks. They don't have to go to foreign to get a stamp from a particular university. They don't have to belong to a corporate lobby. They can do anything, being anyone. So
Mhm.
the next point, I want that parents should be educated. When the parents are not aware and educated, they want that their children become educated. So what happens? Whatever information they collect from all the wrong resources, they start giving it to their children. Do you do this, otherwise this will happen. That uncle's child, he has done this, you don't do this. So stop giving them examples of people. Your child is an individual. Let him think, let him make his own career path, let him make his own life bit by bit. He will learn, he will sometimes fail, he will sometimes succeed, but that's the
Mhm.
way life has to be. So with that, I think I have done my part. 2 points,
Yeah.
I have covered three.
Thanks for the bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah, great points, Rashmi. Over to you, Anand. What's your take?
Yeah. I think there are many different ways to tackle this pressure. So first of all, let me start with this. Pressure is real. It will be there. It can't go away anywhere. Like be a student, be a working professional, and like be anywhere you go. Right from any level you are at your life, pressure will be always there. So first, accept that. I think accepting itself solves so many problems, right? So because acceptance gives you that validated. Okay, now this is what it is, and now I have to find a way to deal with it. So that's one thing. Second thing is that finding the right studying strategy that works for you. like I said in my previous example also, like the way I've approach study, it might not be like sitting for hours, but doing more on practical hands-on, which gives me more confidence that okay, I know this particular topic. Similarly, someone has like believes that if they go through various texts, they will get that knowledge, and that will add that confidence to them. So just find that knack of studying what works for you. Like in my entire life, I have always studied just prior night before the exam, which sometimes works, sometimes didn't. So that also adds a pressure. Stop doing that. You can break it down. Like for example, we can relate to this example because currently the World Cup is going on for cricket. Like if you ask Kohli, he has always has this pressure to score good numbers in every match. Now the one thing that he has said in one of his interviews, that when he has to chase, when he sees that there is a target to achieve, now in his mind he sees a target, but then he knows that to achieve that he has to take ones, twos, fours and sixes. He can't like hit six every ball to achieve that particular target. So that combination, when you are at your best, hit that six. When you are at your lowest, take that single run, but keep moving. I think that will definitely help. And one last thing, don't underestimate good quality sleep. I think we are because of this technology, I think even with parents it's happening. So I'm sure that the kids will be also facing it, but don't underestimate the importance of sleep. If you
Yeah,
have a good sleep of 7 to 8 hours, trust me, it will make much better difference in your day, and you can deal with things in a very positive attitude. So yeah,
yeah.
that's all from me, and over to you, Navin. Thank you.
Yeah, see, concur with you on the having solid sleep. Before starting this conversation, I mentioned, right, I was sleep deprived the day before yesterday, and because of which I fall sick. And yeah, that is one of the consequences. And you mentioned about the change in the education system. It actually reminded me about the Rancho School of Three Idiots fame. And just to give you a brief background about that, the school name, actual school name is Druk Padma Karpo School. It is one of the top institutions in Ladakh, and it came into light after the climax scenes from the Three Idiots movie. I think probably that is one enlightening way of promoting the education through practical approach. I think there are certain aspects and certain elements of practical teaching and practical methodologies highlighted in national education policy. So I'm looking for some inputs related to that in case if Dr. Ragni or Manju, if you are aware of them, so probably you can highlight them. But yeah, over to you, Dr. Ragni, and with that, later on we can pick up thoughts
Yeah.
from Sudhakar and
Yeah.
yeah, others.
Okay, thank you. I agree with earlier panelists that yes, academic pressure would always be there. So there could be, of course, there are strategies to overcome it. So first, at the student level, if student themselves understand or realizes that how they have to study, so there are a lot of study management techniques, study smart, like how do they study. If syllabus would be there, syllabus can't be reduced for them. I came across a group of students few years back, and they were engineering background. So one paper, they just five of the students they took up, and they said that we just divided each module amongst five of us. Then I just wanted to understand how did they do, how did they learn, and they all did very well in the exams. One of them was the topper of the
Mhm.
university. So they said that we divided the module, and all of us then sat together. Module one was read by student number one. They shared with the other students. The student one explained everything to all in a very short and crisp manner. So other students didn't have to study all other module one. So this is how this was some innovation, management technique to handle the studies. Studies syllabus would always be there. So student also have study in such systematic manner, some discipline that they cover the syllabus and they are able to achieve at least whatever they are expecting whatsoever. Another is I would say the family and the they really need to be disengaged from this ideology that having good marks, standing first, these are the only things. And the moment if you interact with the teachers with respect to parent meeting, the first thing the teacher would tell you what student has got in the last exam. even if it's a small. And then they would start rebuking in front of everybody that the others are performed so well. So it is, teachers, parents, and the parents and the teacher would be same on that meeting, and the student is left aside. Nobody is considering for the student. So it's actually, we need to see each and every student's potential. Then only we can, even if the student is average, the teacher can help that student up, help the student, so that that student comes up, right? And then as regard to this education policy, I would say a lot of strategies has been added in context of skill building.
Yeah.
So a lot of practical dimensions of any subject. You teach any subject, but what is the practical dimension if the student has to, after 3 or 4 years, has to go to the industry? What are the skills required for industry? So that thing, those things has already been incorporated in the subjects at university level, let me tell you. So all these courses have been revised. So even if I am from a sociology background, so even in the sociology, what exactly you are going to do in the field or in the market, so those has to be taught in
Mhm.
the class. Earlier it was not there. And there is a lot of flexibility in terms of a student is, say for 2 years student find these subjects are not up to the mark for me, they can change the subject. Thus changing that stream is also there. And also the skill for entrepreneurship is being um, so much encouraged among students. So entrepreneurship, if students are able to do, so that may not be requiring a very high, achieving high marks every time. So these all things are being put up. Let's see how these are getting streamlined as we progress, and I hope
Yeah.
that is going to show a better result.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you highlighted both flexibility to change the stream after studying for a certain period of time, and then the entrepreneurship. Yeah, entrepreneurship is overlooked many a times, and unless and until people talk about Steve Jobs and likewise Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, wherein we say they are Stanford dropout or so and so dropout. At least we are seeing that culture here in India. I've come across many startup founders who have dropped their education. Once they found a problem statement, they started
Yeah.
solving that particular problem. I think it is a great way to encourage,
Yeah.
because once in every at one point in time in our lives, right, we realize that the education that we have gone through or that we have studied is not relevant to what we are actually doing, and it happens in more than 80% of the cases, right? So I think we have to do that as another panel discussion in future, whether education qualification relates to the careers that we are pursuing. That will be a broad topic to address. But going back to this solution part, let's also hear from Sudhakar and then conclude with Manju. So Sudhakar, what's your take?
I think most of the points have already been covered by the panelists members earlier. So, from my standpoint, let me actually give a perspective from the parents' standpoint. I think from parents' standpoint, for students, they need to appreciate the kids' uniqueness and accept that success, first of all, the definition of success itself is little tricky. Like if you get the first mark or if you get more marks, if you memorize something, that cannot be the only criteria for identifying the success, right?
Yeah.
So appreciating the uniqueness and accepting that success is different for each individual, that is one component. And second component, I would say, is stop comparing within your siblings or kids, or with the outside, or students, fellow students in the class or in neighborhood. And third thing is the communication part, that I think Rashmi was mentioning, that you need to have that communication. And I think in the earlier points also I was mentioning
Mhm.
that the ecosystem of having the you know having the vent an option to vent out their frustrations, their feelings, their expressing their what it is going through in their mind is very important. Otherwise, like Dr. Ragini was mentioning earlier, you will go through the physical and mental issues. I
Mm.
think those are the 3 points I wanted to highlight.
Great, great, Sudhakar. So with that, let's go to the last panelist, Dr. Manju. What's your take on this one?
I will tell you about the middle sections when I used to attend PTM in middle section of my children's.
Okay.
In the board, five toppers of the class were written there. You know, they topped in maths, they topped in science, they topped in Hindi, they topped in Sanskrit. Because I was so disappointed from my child, and I came home and I said, why, means I also want to feel proud parent. uh, but at that point of time, my child said, "Ma'am, Mama, I'm also good in cricket. I'm also good in football. My name is not written in anywhere." So yes, my complaint is to the education system. To the education system first, like in early schools, in middle schools, in primary schools, and in higher schools. Why do we discriminate such things?
Yeah.
Why don't we stop such type of discrimination? If we uh, if five top students in study are on the board, then there should be five other students also. Their name should be on the board who are good in sports, in cricket, in football. Their names are missing.
Yeah.
So I think discouragement starts from there. Discouragement start from there.
Yeah.
Chalo, I take those students who are preparing for their competitive exam. After certain time, they realize that yes, they want to be IITians. They want to be engineer. My question is, uh, do they feel that they really have that much of stamina to sit and study?
Mm.
If they feel if they feel that they have that stamina, they understand that they have the great grasping, then only go for this is also a way to minimize, to reduce the steady pressure.
Yeah.
So I won't I won't advise today's student to go for such a rigorous study. You should have plan B. You should have plan B. You should have, if not this, then what will be the next? If not this, then what will be the next? IIT, becoming IITian is the only aim, or becoming, engineering from that institution is the only aim. Definitely will give you pressure.
Yeah.
So if you want to avoid pressure, if you want to avoid steady pressure, we have to change our mindset, not our society, our school. Every system should have to change their rules for better, young generations.
Mm.
So my part from this much only. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, you brought in an interesting point wherein highlighting the school toppers from the academics are mentioned here. But fast forward 15 years or 20 years, even if somebody is graduating from an IIT or IIM, they may not be earning as much as sports celebrities does, right? If you think about
Yeah,
what Virat
absolutely.
Kohli makes versus the one who might have scored 100 percentile in IIM, the CAT entrance, and afterwards securing the 10 out of 10 CGPA, might be placed in a great company, but compare the income levels and compare where they are at, right? So again, as we have been emphasizing, I think there is no true measure or a true barometer for success as such. So it all depends. So let us not be biased. Okay, saying that highlighting
I'll just
only.
add one thing before you move on to the next question. Sorry for interruption,
Okay.
but
Hmm.
Dr. Manju, I really can relate to the situation what she said, and I had a fight
Yeah.
also with the management on this particular thing when the PTM was going on, and before that we were all discussing what all to be written in the blackboard. So that was my first PTM in that particular school, and it was a very very famous top-notch CBSE school, and I never expected that they would also tell us to write five names. And then I said, why do you want to highlight when, as per the new education policy, we don't have to tell parents who is first, who is second, because we are now giving grades. We are
Yeah.
giving A1, A plus, A, B plus, and all. So how will you come to know that like 20 children, they have got A plus? So why do you want to tell them out of those 20, which five students have got more numbers? How will you mention that? Because as per the new policy, we are not supposed to tell them the results in numbers or in percentile. It's always should be in grades. So the principal got offended, and she said, "No, no, we have to tell, because otherwise children will be very lethargic. There will be no motivation, and they will not compete." And it was a biggest joke of today's education system, that everything is there on the papers, but when it comes to implementation, each and every school is doing as per their own whims and fancies. And I'm sorry to say it happens. So I can actually feel for the students. Those names were not there in the blackboard as soon as they
Yeah,
used to enter, and they used to have a very, very demoralizing look on their faces, that they could
yeah,
not do proud to their parents.
yeah. So just on a side note, Mukesh Ambani or Rakesh Junjunwala, they are not from IIT or IIM, right? And they still are one of the
Yes.
wealthiest people in India. Okay, so great conversation so far. So I think in the interest of time, let us conclude the panel discussion for today. And I would love to hear less than 30 seconds of your closing thoughts, and we'll go with Dr. Manju first.
Uh, I was not pointing a particular institute actually, but yes, that was not my intention. As a teacher, as a mentor, we in our day-to-day life, in our classes, we mentor our children. I would say for those students also, and all those students who are preparing for their exams, or who are just entering in your the 11th or 12th classes, it's just a request that don't take so much stress. You need not to take stress. There are so many things. Whichever path you will follow, you will definitely reach to some good point with your hard work and with your parents' support. So don't take so much stress. Life is beautiful. Live your life fully. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manju. With that, let's go to Anand.
Yeah. All right. So first of all, thanks again, Naveen, for hosting this panel and the topic. It was very important. So all so a comment to all the students out there: trust me, you're not alone. If you're feeling the pressure or the heat, definitely it's real, but there are ways to cope up with it, right? And I would like to end my comment with the example which Dr. Ragini actually mentioned in her last comment about like the group of students who studied one covering one topic and then teaching. I think I have done that. It was very useful. So my only students out there is like, have those friends in your life with whom you can do this, because that really takes away the pressure, and it just becomes fun when you do this, and when you learn something and teach something, it stays with you for your life. I think thank you so much for bringing that example, Dr. Ragini, because that's exactly how I studied. I was able to cope up with the pressure in my, study days, and I would definitely say it's one of the best, working strategies to study. So yeah, with that, definitely, and all the best to all the students out there. Thank you. Thanks, Naveen. Over to you.
Thank you, Anand. I think when we teach to somebody, we are under a pressure to teach them well so that we'll be able to answer anything, right? I think that has to be taken positively. And yeah, that's a great point. And with that, let's move forward to Dr. Ragni.
Yeah. I feel every student should be self-awareness is one concept. Every student should be self-aware about himself or herself. It will talk about that what are the unique capacity and capabilities of that particular student, and they should not be a part of that rat race that they have to go for some branded institutes, and they have to run after that and put themselves in undue pressure, which is of no use. So if self awareness of students are there, which is for which the teachers and the parents are the prime force who can do that. Parents are biggest supporter for that, and teachers also. If they can help the students to building up in their own self awareness, I don't think so student will feel any kind of pressure, and the studies would be just taken as a part of their life, and that becomes a subject of their life. And then a lot of
Yeah,
skill building courses are there that don't require so much of entrance exam, and people can learn those skills and they can be absorbed in, I think, nowadays. And of course they can earn well. And why they are taking undue pressures of cracking a particular exam or If it is of their capacity, it's fine. If it is not, find out other ways to, grow well. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that resonated with me is about the onus is on both parents and teachers, because sometimes parents get into a blame game of, okay, teachers are exerting too much of pressure, and the other way around also. But both of them should take the responsibility equally. And with that, let's move to our next panelist, Sudhakar. What are your closing thoughts?
Yeah, I would say that learning is the focus for which we are doing these studies. So, focus on the things that are there in your control from the student or parent standpoint. That is, having a discipline and focusing on the studies and enjoy that journey. As an outcome, you will have learning, you will have some marks, you will have some ranks. It is the passion and that discipline that should drive you
Yeah,
rather than the opposite.
yeah,
We generally put the cart ahead of the horse, right? Because Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli are so good in their discipline and their passion about cricket, they at the end they ended up as great cricketers and started earning money as well.
yeah.
But typically, what we generally do is we start putting the cart ahead, right? We want to earn money,
Mm-hmm.
so, we start doing the cricket, and because we are putting ourselves in that pressure, we want to become Tendulkar or Virat Kohli, and that is the whole story is like reverse, completely flipped out, right? So, we should actually focus more on learning,
Yeah,
and that can be done through discipline.
yeah.
That is what I think.
Yeah, I think we have to give our best and focus on things that you can control, and you need not focus
Control.
on things you cannot control. That's the key takeaway for
Yeah.
me. Great, Sudhakar. So, with that, let's move to Rashmi.
Okay, so I would say in a very crisp manner that education is not the learning of facts. It is basically the aim of mind. It was said earlier. It is a mind game. The training of mind is important. Education is not only about earning a degree, going to a college, and earning money. As Sudhakaran said, it is a beautiful journey. It is a holistic development approach. So not only think about what I am going to become as an adult, where I'm working, which company I would be associated. You just think what kind of human being I would be, what values I will be giving to my children once I become adult or a father. So that should be
Mhm.
the aim. And we should always remember that expert in anything was always a beginner. It starts
Wow.
from the scratch. So enjoy this journey and imbibe good values. Read, so much of literature is around, so many good books are there. Be punctual, be disciplined. And one thing is very important: you should know what are my limitations, what are my capabilities, and what are my strengths, and work accordingly. Choose your field, choose your field to play according to your capabilities and your limitations. Don't just copy others. Getting inspiration from someone is something different, but trying to become like him is totally a different ball game altogether. So
Yeah.
think about your family, think about your parents, think about the resources also. That is one very important. Nowadays I have seen students are taking huge amount of loan just to go out and get a stamp. So this is also not recommended. It is also creating a pressure on parents as well as students. So
Yeah.
do things which are possible within your resources, and it gels with your personality, the kind of person you are, what are your strengths, what you can achieve in life, what do you want, and work accordingly. That's
Yeah.
it, and enjoy life.
Awesome. So this actually reminded me Tare Zamin Par Child, okay, of Amir Khan's movie, right? Everybody is unique and everybody has their own strengths. So likewise, everyone need not be good at academics, and there are various other avenues to make money to get the life going. So my advice to everybody around is, please stop pressurizing kids on scoring good grades. It is okay to be average. It is okay not to be the topper, right? So everybody settles in life. We have seen ourselves. To reiterate, I said during beginning of the panel discussion, backbenchers are earning more than the first benchers and the second benchers, right? So everybody has a life. So let us not exert too much pressure on people. So on that note, I would like to thank all the panelists for sharing amazing insights. I think this is one of the most excellent conversations that I've ever had in the recent past. And let's take these insights that we have gained today to deal with the study pressure and create a conducive environment for students. So please share all your learnings with the community, so that people can, whoever goes through this discussion, right, they can excel in their fields without pressure. And thank you once again for all of you for being part of this excellent conversation. Let us continue to support and uplift each other. Remember, together we can make a difference, and the best things are yet to come, because future holds some amazing stuff. So we will be hosting many more panel discussions in future. And for those of you who are watching this content, if you have any specific topic to be covered, just feel free to drop in the comments on LinkedIn or YouTube. We would be happy to host sessions on those topics as well. And thank you all the panelists once again for being part of this amazing conversation. And have a good rest of the day. Have a great time ahead. Thank you once
Thank you
again.
so much.
Take care.
Thank you so much
Thank you,
for
Naveen, for
Thank
hosting.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.